Hello, everyone. I haven't done a golf video in quite a long time. I didn't get around to it during the other majors, and this is now being recorded a couple days after Xander won the Open Championship. But what I feel like doing, instead of like doing the past where I went over the course and all that, I'm gonna do a little of that. But in reality, I thought it'd be more fun to kind of do like an open-ended conversation and make an argument on why I think the Open can be considered the best major. Personally, I kind of tie it between the Open and Augusta, basically the Masters. But I want to go over all that in a bit. And I thought it'd be cool. We'll play through Royal Troon. We kind of first go over briefly the tournament itself, and how good it was this year, in my view. And we'll talk off and on about the course. But also I want to go into after that really more why I love the Open. The history, links golf. What makes it links golf, and then kind of go over the other three majors to an extent. And I think we can do that during 18 holes. Couple notes. Tournament settings. I turned the win up to 14 to 20. You can go up to 20 to 25. I decided to cut it off 14-20 because I was thinking quite a few days it was in that 15-20 range. I do think it was a little higher Thursday, Friday. I'm doing Friday's pins, and I'm going to do an afternoon tee time, so we're going to pretend like we're trying to make a cut. Not doing that, just for practice. Turn commentary off, music's off, so that way it'd be a little easier to hear me and no one talking over me. So anyway, this is Royal Troon, so obviously this was part of the update they did in the spring with all this year's majors. The only courses they haven't added that they may add, I think they will add, but I'm not entirely sure on top of my head. The BMW is in Colorado this year. That course might be added. And then actually, no, I've heard nothing about the President's Cup. Only did the Ryder Cup last year. But that said, Road Troon's a beautiful course. I liked it a lot, especially watching it. I remember, ironically, I think this is the first time NBC got the Open in 2016. It was also Troon. And I just remember, the clubhouse and also that famous hole where it hugs the train tracks. It's just really cool. And there's also like an airport nearby where you see planes flying overhead and some shots. So just really neat in my view. And we'll have to go over that, but a little more in a second here. And I haven't played in a while, so we'll see how we do. So I know it's going to be pretty firm. Oh yeah, and we got the wind here. Yeah, this looks good. Alright. So I can just get settled in here. Oh, that's going to be perfect. Yep, I'll just sit there. Alright, now, rolled a little bit, but not too bad. So so let's just go over, kind of before going the Open, all the majors, but I guess a little bit about links golf. For those that might have, for those who may have stumbled across, aren't too familiar with the differences. Well, let me rephrase that. Like, links golf is kind of a loose term nowadays, because it'd be like courses like, they call it links golf because it kind of looks like it, but in the true traditional term, like this place, or like St. Andrews, or Liverpool last year, like almost all the Open, the rota they call it, the rotation of courses that you go through the Open, are usually off a body of water, like a sea, off the strait, I wouldn't say not the Atlantic, because technically it's never playing like Western Ireland where it faces the Atlantic. It's always playing like facing the strait towards facing towards Ireland, or off the sea to the northeast, or Portrush, which is facing north in Northern Ireland next year. But a body of water where it impacts the conditions quite a bit. A couple other things, especially the ones over there. Then let's say compare the this did not break at all like I was going to. I wouldn't say it's more links off, but the big one is for them is the body of water. And here it's wide open. It's just like rolling hills. They do the pop bunkers. There's no trees, at least on the course. You might have trees like in the background, like, near the course, but not where it's impacting the play. No, it's basically completely open to the elements, and that's usually a lot of wind, especially in that part of the world. Rain rolls in and out all the time. You see, there's that, they call it either luck sometimes if you go off, depending on which time of the day for both the first two rounds and how that impact with the weather impact. By the way, we're doing like afternoon round in this one. Oh, I think I said that, but it's like, not entirely sure how accurate they try to get. Like, I know the skin is in to do rain, but this has got all the cool clouds and all that. So that's why that's kind of like the core element of really true links golf. And I say true because like you have others like nowadays. Like, good example, there's a course here in Chicago called Harborside, which is designed like links. It looks like at the core of links course, like it's wide open like this. Not as really many bunkers in it, but some rolling hills and the rough can be pretty long in spots. But it's not near Lake Michigan, and you don't get the those conditions don't really matter as much. So granted, and that's where it gets a little loose because it really checks out. But for the true like the British like the Open and how they define it is really like off a body of water. So it really makes it very limited. Which why makes this tournament very exciting to me. It's a very different style of golf. It may seem, it's the same, sport on paper, but, in general, like the U.S. Open, the other majors, they don't play, they'll get some windy days, but their weather is a little more consistent. While in the Open, it can vary a lot. Like the last couple years, it was really, gettable. I'd say Liverpool was a little more nasty, but I remember, like, watching St. Andrews, and it was just the conditions did not challenge the players at all. The total was like 20 something when Cameron Smith won. I don't remember the exact number top of my head, but it was literally like, it was literally very gettable for these pros. But this year, it was just brutal, especially Saturday. Like Xander pulled it away. I think 8 or 9 under. Again, I'm just doing top of my head and having all these facts in front of me. Facts. Who does that? But like, it started with Lowry having a really good Thursday, but then he leaked water, and all of a sudden, like, everyone's like tied at -5. Saturday and the Sunday, and it's just a tight leaderboard because the conditions were just that brutal. The wind changed directions. Like the players are struggling on Thursday and Friday because the wind direction from their practice rounds, like Monday through Wednesday, changed completely on Thursday, Friday, and it tripped their whole game plan, and a lot of them had to adjust in the fly, which makes links golf exciting when that happens, because that's what happens. Like, for those guys, especially the ones that are really great and trying to win, they have to change their game plan all the time because the weather changes all the time. Another example, rain rolled in from most of Saturday afternoon, and it was just brutally brutal. Like, if you're on the morning, you actually were okay. Maybe some drizzle, but then when the leaders and Scotty Scheffler and Shane Lowry, they were just getting, they were just being, beaten out there. The rain was just coming down, and it's not like thunderstorms. So there, it's like this constant rain drizzle. So they stay out there. It's not like in the U.S. where, not always, but a lot of times, unfortunately, when rain comes, it's like a storm and thunder, and for safety reasons, they got to get off. Oh. Wow, misjudged that. See, there you go. There's a good example. I thought I had enough to push it. The rain, basically, or not the rain, the wind, it was coming in from the angle. I thought I had enough to get over it, but I did not, and it basically now I'm short. I guess since a practice round, it's not counting a stroke, even though it should. Unless it's a bug, which would be funny. Hold on. So here's another example. You're in the rough. Let's do one club, and we go, let's go straight. It's going to be hot probably, so it's probably going to roll a bit. And there's another example, which we'll get into a little bit soon with like the U.S. Open, which kind of has it. Oh wow, I misjudged that. I haven't played this game in a while too, so that impacts it as well. But anyways, I'm saying like those conditions impact a lot, and that's what made, and this is where we're going to get into the argument. I think the Open is the most interesting and exciting major when the conditions play like that. Like, and see, like that, it's also usually kind of firm. Even when it rains, it's just wide open to all the wind and elements. So it's usually the balls roll. You'll see like some holes that people are hitting like 400-yard drivers because the wind's behind them, and other ones is like 200. But then they're like, okay, they air at like 250, but then it rolls like another 80 yards. You get some of that in the U.S. as well, depending on the course and setup. In general, that's just how it is there. It's just about all these rolling hills and bouncing around and just kind of seeing where your ball is going to end up. And kind of tying to that, why I also think the Open, especially when the conditions aren't super favorable for the players, is some of the most exciting golf to watch. There's one, you're seeing them all adjust and adapt, changing their game plans all the time, and it just varies so much in each hole because of the wind direction and so forth. And the other ones, like especially with like the Open, I think it emphasizes more. Actually, I'll argue with the other majors, but like especially with the Open, I think it really emphasizes like your strategy because like you think about, well, not think about, but like good example, like the Open seems to do a better job, them and Augusta, which I'll go into in a bit, producing a wide range of types of players to be a major winner. Don't get me wrong, all the best, true the ones that have complete Grand Slams or won majors in different environments, like now Xander has between the PGA and oh, there we go, hit one of the bunkers. Let's see how we do this. Yeah, see? Oh, yeah, so you have no choice. You're gonna have to just launch it out. And there you go, see? You can't reach it in two. And that's a par 5, so you got some leeway here. But you really just have to get it, high and up. Luckily it's not against the wall. When you see them against the wall, sometimes they try to bounce it out or realize they have no choice but to go backwards or to the side. Like you don't get that in other areas of golf, which again, why I think links golf is really exciting, especially at the Open. So, but but like good example, like Phil Mickelson won it. Actually, no, I tell you, Phil's really unique. He's won a PGA in this, but like Tom Watson almost won this at the age of 59. He was either 59 or turned 60 in 2009. Greg Norman had a good run a few years ago. Again, I think that might have been 2008 or 10. It was like around, not too long, too different when, not 2010. I know that wasn't it, but I know one year he had a really good round. Or a good run where he was like just in the lead or right off the lead in the final day. Couldn't make a run, but had a top 10 finish. Oh, it's short again. Yeah, see? Getting brutal here. Not a bad lie for that bunker. Yeah, so. And the reason is for that because it's not a, you hear in golf you hear the term like bomb, bombers. There's like Bryson DeChambeau that's now won 2 US Opens. We'll go a bit on Pinehurst this year, but like when he won at Wingfoot, he just bombed it. As long as he wasn't too far offline, then he could power his way out of the rough into onto the green and have a nice par or birdie or whatever, and that's all he needed. Other guys are not able to match that power strategy. You try to bomb it in the Open. Now if the winds, the conditions are great, then you're going to pull it off and demolish the course. But when it's super windy, like you saw Bryson, I think he was like 11 shots over. Rory McIlroy, he's a very long distance hitter, didn't do well. Tony Finau, I think he made the cut barely. Like those guys did not do well. And you think about like Brian Harman last year, he's not a distant player and he won it because it's designed to really, when there's some condition stuff, it's really about strategy. It's really about understanding like how to tackle the course. So learn how to tackle, planning where your shots don't just need to go, but also trying to calculate some error and stuff and realize, okay, we can do it here, but if I go over here, I'm in this bad bunker and it's gonna I'm gonna have no chance. So it's really, really emphasizing. Is that gonna stay? That's okay. Really emphasizing your shot-making abilities and your thinking, which is why I think is also, them and Augusta are probably my favorite in terms of that. And we'll go in Augusta. But anyway, as I said, when these conditions are good, and when you have so many elements at play between the wind and all those bunkers, because again, those shots roll and you see golfers look like they're hitting it well. See, there you go, I overhit it. See, those are the firmness of the greens that you especially get on these links courses. Oh yeah, and there was a slope there that I didn't really think much about. As I said, see, it's more about thinking. You can't just like, I'm just gonna. It's the shot looks good on paper, and then you realize you misjudge it completely what you need to do. I'm pretty sure I was supposed to get a penalty stroke on one other hole and didn't do it. Anyway, so, and that's where I think that's why I almost consider the Open the best one to an extent. And I think I'll put Augusta right there or tie it, depending on the year. But it's just, to me, it's fun. Like, it's just like, I love the different style. Just all these golf nerds like me, they love it too. It's, you just don't see this throughout the year. Like, there's really only 2 weeks a year. Actually, there's a few more I'll touch on in a brief second. And I'll touch on in a quick second soon. But in reality, you think about the majors, and it's just this course, and then the week before they do the Scottish Open, which is now a joint event. Between that and between the PGA and the European DP, the DP Tour, aka European Tour. And the Scottish Open's fun. It's actually fun. I like watching it. And the course looks good, but I know there's some criticisms just the design and layout, and it's a little different. Like, they don't move the Scottish Open lately, because I think just the infrastructure, they keep it at this place called Renaissance. Which is kind of a shame. We kind of need this, so there's so many other courses up there they could go to, because links golf is really predominant in that part of the world. I mean, if they actually went around a bit and check out other courses. But, that's just my opinion. Anyway, that's getting off topic. But really, those are the only 2 weeks. And I do think there's another event I've seen that goes to St. Andrews once a year or somewhat frequently in the fall. I think it's on the DP Tour, but that's really about it. And you can get into, like, maybe the women's, the women's open or the senior open as well in this part of the world. But that, in reality, though, for the top tier, it's only 2 weeks a year. And yet it's some of the most fun and interesting golf you'll see. I think this will be fine. Yeah, that one's going to kill it. So, but I think that's what makes it, because, like, now we, oh, sorry, let me back up 1 second. So that's what makes it really fun, and I mentioned all the strategy and stuff, and I think just also because it gives a chance for a lot of different players who don't just, they're good golfers. They're all great golfers. But it does not favor one style of play. In fact, it favors, depending on the day or even the tournament or setup, it can vary multiple styles. And I think it gives a lot of chances to various people, which definitely includes the older golfers. There's definitely been other 40-year-olds that have won this championship. People in their 40s. People in their 50s make a good run, which you really only see at Augusta. And a lot of that, we'll go to that in a second. But, like with Augusta, I think a lot of it more is about the experience, especially for passionate who know how to win there and so forth. But you just don't get that as really the U.S. Open or the PGA Championship. And then, also the greens are just funky, like that, which is, as a golfer, don't get me wrong, that's frustrating to play in. But it's also so different, I think I would enjoy a bit until I get frustrated. And then watching it, it's so fun. But, kind of getting away from that, that's why I think the Open is great, and just in terms of the history as well, the last thing we touch on before going to the others. I mean, it's the oldest major in golf. It's been around over 150. There's been over 150 editions. The history of the sport goes back to the 16th century in this part of the world. So there's just there's so much rich history, and you think a lot of the greats have all won here. Just so many good storylines over the years. Now, kind of moving, though, I would say the next major, I think, is... I would say it's a tie. Some years, depending on the day, I'll be honest. Excuse me, I'll probably pick it as my favorite. But I just think this year, the Open was the best one from start to finish. I think the PGA... work with the PGA yesterday had great finishes. I was really hoping that would carry. It didn't. So, I think the PGA and, the USGA had really amazing finishes, but I think, like, the USGA, when it was more Rory losing it, and Bryson just did what he had to do to not lose. Like, he had to close it out, and he did. And then Xander, which I think was the better probably the best finish, was at the PGA. He made sure he prevented the playoff and won it. He went out and won it. And again, like this one, he really took control in the back nine and won it. And then Scotty was pretty much, the machine and just, win the championship, Masters championship mode and just, close it out. But from in terms of the setup and hype and interest, after the Open, which again, some years it's not as good. Like St. Andrews wasn't as good because there's just no wind, very loose conditions. But then I think it would be Augusta, and Augusta's a little different because it's always the same course every year. So there are definitely certain golfers I think do better than others just because they've played it enough, they know how to play there. But the thing I love about Augusta is kind of ties into the Open a bit, especially when there's conditions and these courses and setup. It emphasizes your shot it emphasizes your strategy, and then your accuracy and your approach. Playing this game, you definitely get a sense of the elevations and the angles. So like if your driver, you might be in the fairway, but you might be in a weird angle where you can't really see the green very well. So then all of a sudden, you need to what I'm trying to say is like, oh yeah, this is the postage stamp, by the way, I think. Yeah, this is like the 120, 30 yard one. And it's like, look at this. Look how brutal this is. There's just no room. All right. But it's saying like the elevation changes and so forth. Like, there's definitely better angles than others where you want to be and where it's just like you don't. In terms of like really needing to get. Look at that. It's fist bump. What? For what? Can I flop it? Oh, this is. Oh, you know what? No, I don't want to flop it. All right, there we go. That win is gonna just push it back. Yeah, see? Anyway, so as I said, like, it really emphasizes your strategy and shotman, which I think is really good. Like, it's fun, it's exciting, especially when you played in this game. I don't see that breaking, so I put a little there. Wow, it did break. I just didn't see that. It didn't look like it. But I think, and also, I think because it's Augusta, like, it's such a beautiful course. It's a great design. It's old school, but also feels modern. I like how, like, you look at certain holes, they kind of the greens will slope a little bit. So it's like, okay, if I go left, it's going to roll off like Augusta. Kind of like here, you saw how had a little too much spin or speed, and it just rolls right off. It really emphasizes your control and really placement. And then you get like other holes a little more approachable, like this one. And that's kind of like Augusta. Definitely holes that always seem a little more approachable than others. And they're also narrow. Like this one, this is, like, it's interesting. Seeing Troon here is a lot narrow. Like, go to St. Andrews, a lot wider. So there's a little differences in the links golf. I should try lower. I didn't think about that. Oh, this is a good shot. This would be fine. No, it wouldn't. Ha! Wow. Oh, that's insane. So I can't reach the green. Yeah. All right. So, anyways, I was saying, like, and that's why I think Augusta. I would say most years it's it's them and the Open are my two favorites because of that. Just the strategy of the golf, and I think the PGA and USGA has some issues sometimes with that, depending on the course. Which kind of I would say impact similar like maybe the conditions with the Open, but then with like. Oh, and then finally the last thing, like, similar like to history with the Open, the traditions of Augusta are just so fun. Like, yeah, let's see. The one's going to push it back a bit, but it's a pitch shot, so it rolls a lot. Yeah. Yeah, that's fine. A little offline, but fine. Oh my god, it's a horrible putt. So, like the green jacket, the Masters dinner. They do the par 3 contest. And also, I think kind of, not similar, but let's say, likewise, it's like, well, I love like the Opens, like it's morning golf for me here in the States. So it's just fun to get up. And it's still like 8-10 hours of golf. You wake up at 7, it's still going on to like 2 or 3 o'clock, like because it gets dark so late there in July. And then like with Augusta, it's the first major of the year, and to me, it's like a sign of spring is here and that we're getting out of. That's such a cool hole. Yeah, this is the blind shot. Like, just look at that. Look at that. It's just insane. Just don't see that in the U.S. I mean, you see some dumb blind shots. Oh, go around a tree, but not like, a big hill in the way, or like at a St. Andrews, got to hit over a hotel. But anyway, that's another. As I said, the tradition, somewhere like the history of the Open. That's a big reason why I do like the Augusta a lot. Along with the spring and all that. Now, we're now going to move on to the PGA and the U.S. Open a bit. Now, good news, you get free relief. The part I do like about the PGA, it's supposed to be the best field, and it's a pro tournament. So it's like, all the club pros that like teach, let's say they teach, like classes and stuff at the golf courses, youth academies. Those are the people that qualify and get to play in. And I think it's great. Like, I like that part a lot. My issue is the courses and setup. Not always. They go to some good ones. Like, I think Oak Hill last year was really good. They've been to Whistling Straits before. I like Kiwa. But then they go to, like, Valhalla. I just want to say, it's a nice, beautiful Midwest course. But when you're a major total is like minus 19, and I'm very suspicious that Valhalla is going to be somewhat similar next year because they host an annual event there already, in the President's Cup and everything apparently. That it's not a great major test, and that seems to be the issue of the PGA. Some years it is, and other years it's not because of the different courses they go to. Especially now that they're in May, I think it's going to kind of limit a lot of that. Let's go low. There we go. Where's my win? Where's my win? It never came. Oh, I'm gonna have no control of this. Oh yeah. Anyway. And it's just, and great, that's more of a criticism of Valhalla, but just in the PGA set, it was just very inconsistent, and like, again, it was the best finish this year. Like, I thought, the tight leaderboard and Xander and Bryson was really good. Like, it was definitely exciting drama golf, and I was happy with that. It just more as a major, it was a very for the course and setup, which I can say it's like that at some years with the PGA Championship more so than the others. It's very forgettable, and that's what it's kind of a shame. Like, I probably like the PGA a little bit not the U.S. Open. How the PGA America approaches it, I probably like a little bit on how the U.S. Open approaches the course setup. But it's unfortunate is that, like it's just some years they really seem to struggle to make it challenging. And like a good example, before I go on to the U.S. Open this year, there's one hole. You have like two fairways, and one's on the left, one's on the right. And the one's on the left, if you go to the left, you have a better chance of basically like making like a birdie, maybe an eagle. I can't remember if it was a par 5 on top of my head. I apologize. Now the challenge, for let's say the members, is you have to carry a lot further to get to that other fairway. For the pros, I think 85, 90% of the field went over there because it's no issue to get over there for them, even from the tournament tees. And that's where it's kind of like you have this holes and setup where they're just going to take advantage of because they're just that much better. And that's not like to punish them saying that's bad per se. It's just for a major, the 4 biggest events of the year, the 4 toughest tests on paper, for different reasons, but it's supposed to be this is the toughest test, this is not supposed to be easy, and yet it kind of was. And I think that's where, it's a little frustrating with the PGA Championship. And I think Coral Hollow is going to have some similar issues as well. I don't know if that's good or not. Oh, actually, I think it might. Yeah, it's going to roll back a bit, but it'll stay on. And I think that's my, and in general, people consider the PGA the weakest one anyway. And not because, like, the courses or the majors or the champions aren't worth anything. That is more, like, mix on the courses. Some are good, better than others. And you'll have that a little bit in the U.S. Open. I say it's definitely more common perception with the PGA Championship. And it's also, like, in terms of history, it's actually kind of funny. It was, like, it's technically the third oldest major because Augusta didn't start playing until the 1930s, and we have 100-plus years of the PGA Championship, so that means it's older, but, Augusta's kind of overtaken just due to its uniqueness and history and so forth. But anyway, that being said, I think also that plays into it as well, and the Wanamaker Trophy is cool theirs, but the Claret Jug is probably my favorite trophy, and the Wanamaker is it's massive, and it just looks awkward to hold and so forth. I mean, a little critical, but that's just my opinion there. And now we go in the U.S. Open, which some people would definitely say it's the second best sometimes, depending. It's all subjective, really. I say outside the PGA, in general consensus, that's the fourth one. The weakest one of the four. But with all the others, I end up, it's weird. I've ended up putting the USGA probably third most years. I think there's been some years it was definitely better than others. Like I thought Brookline, the country club, was really good. Good. That's just good tournament, but good course. I like that one. And it was nice, and this is my criticism where I think more the USGA. They make it, quote, the hardest test in golf. Now, what they've done, though, at times, and this is where I get a little critical, is that they bake a course out, usually, and by bake, let it kind of... Ooh. There we go. Ooh. I'll have to do like a half swing here. See how this looks. Not enough. Yeah. That was a tough one. Anyway. And like this year, here's what I say, Bryson won it. It was more that Rory choke, especially with those putts, but it also felt like a few times, and I've seen this with more so with the US Open than the others. Maybe you could say with the Open of Link style golf, but I feel like it's more like a given sometimes with these, weird bounces and stuff, and sometimes it'll go your way and not, which is part of the sport, always will be. But it seemed like more so in the US Open this year, and past shows like Shinnecock, they cut the course out, and this show is kind of already hot and dry down in the Carolinas. So it's already going to be kind of fast and firm, which is fine. I expect the US to be fast and firm, but it looked really almost brownish out there in an unhealthy way. And you just saw balls, Rory had a couple shots. They were good shots. They were fundamentally right. Should be in that spot. And because of this, how hard everything is, bad bounces that end up in bad spots. Meanwhile, when you saw Bryson a couple of those shots, he ended up getting the lucky bounce and the lucky spots where it ended up. So that's where... and that happens in golf. It does. It's not just the U.S. Open, but it definitely felt more like better shots were definitely punished unfairly in the U.S. Open. It felt more Mickey Mouse at times, and that's just how they do their setup. They did that Chambers Bay. I mean, they really let that course cook. It looked terrible. It looked terrible, and it played terrible. They've done it Shinnecock twice, and one of them, remember, I think this is an 04, one year. They cooked it so bad, they ended up having to water the green in the middle of a round because everyone's complaining. And you can say they should not cave in the golfers, but it was just, it looked really Mickey Mouse out there. It did not look proper. Did not look like a normal conditions. It looked just very forced and just terrible. But then, unfortunately, in some years for them, which is why they get to do this, like when at Erin Hills, it was humid that week, and there was storms off and on a couple days. It softened the course quite a bit and made it gettable, which they don't want. And again, I do get it. I do expect it to be hard in conditions, but I like it more when it's like at Pebble Beach, let's say, where it's like they got the marine layer in conditions, so it's going to soften a bit, but then they narrow the fairway. It's kind of like how narrow these are. And then it's more about the thick rough, and then, you know, just the fur, and then look at the greens pretty fur, but at least they're still green and look receptive. And then you look at right next to the green, super thick rough, where, you know, your chips are definitely going to be like, oh, whoops, I didn't mean to do that. Your chips are definitely going to be like, you know, fast and hard. You know, if you're not careful, you can easily blade it. You know, to me, that's a great test. Or, you know, they're going to Oakmont in Pennsylvania, which I think is a great course. You know, there, and granted, they'll probably try and bake it out, but it's really designed really hard with like the bunkers and stuff, and how they do these big greens, but they're rolling a bit. Like these older courses have some of these really massive greens, but then they kind of slope off. And granted, Pinehurst has. I think Pinehurst as a course is excellent. It's just how they set it up I did not appreciate this year as much. Or just how it was baked out, really. You know, as they said, it was more just that part. Anyways, I'm saying, with Oakmont, you know, with the others, you know, that's good. Or like, I'm trying to think. Like, I actually like when they're at Torrey Pines. You know, I think, you know, I like that course a lot. People don't, I get it. But I think it usually keeps the fields pretty close, and I like... Ooh, I thought that was going to be a little shorter. Anyway. And I do like how... You know, just the look and the feel, and this how it plays out for the players, to be honest. But anyway, I think that's my big issue with the U.S. Open. Like, I think last year I like Country Club, and I think that was just kind of a coming from Brookline to that was such like a big letdown. Like, I like Brookline, great. I actually was at that one too, to be fair, but great crowds. Love the course. Like, that course is a good example. They had some narrow fairways, but then they had like hills like in the middle of the fairway, you know, kind of like a little valley. You go like elevate tee box down, then back up the hill. You know, I thought that was really good. You know, they grew out the rough well. It didn't look baked. It looked just right in terms of like the firmness, but also a little give and so forth. You know, that's what I like to see. And we didn't get that this year. It was more of that super hard, watch good shots get punished, bad shots not, just by the luck of the draw. In my opinion, more so than it should be. And that's my, you know, going from the PGA, where I think their setup sometimes is too soft and just kind of, it feels really just like a regular tourist stop with a different logo out there, and everyone's there, I guess. And then like the U.S. Open, where it's nice to see these players get, you know, tested and punished, but then it doesn't feel right. You know, it feels a little Mickey Mouse and tacky to an extent. And like, and that's subjective. Like, I know people aren't going to agree with me, and that's fine. I'm not here to. It's just more my view. Oh, I got over. See, there you go, the firmness in the wind. See how that went 389 yards. It's just more my view, because like, you know, as I said, like the U.S. Open some years, I think it's like, in terms of the course and everything, I really like it a lot. In other years, it's just more frustrating to watch, and that was like this year to an extent. Again, great finish, like very dramatic, which, you know, I'm glad to see that. It's just more just the course, and like, you know, I've seen Pinehurst in past years and other stuff. It looks a lot better than it did that week. But anyway, so now we kind of touch on, and granted, this is more recently biased with the current courses and so forth, but I do think, like, I just try to look at the overall product, and what I like about the Open more than the others, minus Augusta, which I'll touch again in a second, with they let nature, you know, they call it like, you know, forged by nature, and it is really like, you know, like again, like the bake. Some years it's bake out here because it's just been dry. It doesn't happen as often, but I have seen it. Oh, finally! If I finish even, I'd be happy. So. But it's like, it's really like conditions. Like, again, this year the conditions were wet, they were windy, and they tortured. And it's like they made those players think and had to adapt on the second. You know, so I think while like the U.S. Open, you know, you see like a player, as you know, they do the jokes with like, you know, they do these videos of dropping the ball in the rough, disappears. They like drop one on the green, This like from like arm like held at their arm and drop it, and it rolled like 30 feet. All right. That's just tacky and Mickey Mouse, and not like on a super slope. It looked kind of slightly slopish, maybe a slight incline. It was just that wonky because they dried it out and made it that fast. And to me, that loses the appeal because that's just Mickey. That's just tacky. It's Mickey Mouse. Because now you're almost like saying, I know you want to be the toughest test, but you need at least award the good shots and stuff. And if you hit on the green, well, let me rephrase. That's not the best one, but like if you're just driving it like that, which is it should not roll much at all. Like even on a slice slope, she'll roll a bit, maybe a few feet to 10 max. But if it's rolling like 30 feet off, then that's just stupid. All right, it's not fun. Like it just to me it just tortures bad good shots, and like bad shots. Oh, I hit a short. Oh, look at that! It bounces, rolls, and just somehow it stops like 2 feet. Like I mean that's just not right. In my view. So, but yeah, anyway. I think overall, I get in a moment, probably if it's a sprint instead of the Masters in the Open, but those have always been probably my favorite two for quite a while. Also, I just love the aesthetics of the Open. Obviously the links golf, and it's cooler. Someone's wearing pullovers again, so it feels like the spring here in Chicago. But I just love their stands, the dark blue, the big yellow scoreboard. How they put in like the champion name and then say, excuse me, see you next year. Get an invite to your 60. Like, here's another thing that's kind of interesting. The U.S. Open's the only one doesn't give you a lifetime exemption. You get 10 years, which is a lot. Like, I'd be fair. It's not like short, but you get the Open until you're 60. I thought they might have changed that back to 50, but I could be wrong there. Oh, is that going to roll in or stop? Wow. Yeah, 413 yards. And then, like, the PGA and the Masters is kind of a lifetime thing, which I think is fine. Fun and good. I'm gonna go short. Oh. Yeah, see, look, I got a little bop wrong. It's still a little too much. Right idea, just not the right nut. Anyway. So, yeah, I know. I find that a little cheesy. I feel like that one's tough. Like, I'd be honest, that's not a good answer, like, either way. I feel like if you won a U.S. Open, maybe it should be like, at least to maybe you're 50 or something, like when you go to the senior tour. I feel like if you're in your prime golf years, I'd say the 40s becomes a wash to an extent, but I do think 40-year-olds can still win at this level and so forth. But, upper 40s probably not as much. But anyway, to me, I think that's where you should, get. I think they should do a little more than 10 years. I think, like, if Bryson didn't win again, then he would lose his automatic qualification. Not granted, he'll qualify other ways probably. And, so 2030, which would have been his 30s, still prime years of his life. So, again, I'm going in the weeds there with the U.S. Open, but that's just my viewpoint. Well, at least others, it's more like, and granted, there's some flaws with that. Like John Daly still goes to the Open and PGA, and he seems to withdraw after a day due to injury lately. But it's like they've won it. I think they've earned that right to be invited back as long as they can. Either like until they're approaching their senior years or the end of their career or a lifetime where they're like, all right, I'm past my golf. I'm going to make it like a final round at the Masters. I love that with the Masters when like a past champion that's like 60s or getting up there and he decides to announce 1 year, and it's cool. I think Sandy Lyle recently did that, and it was just neat. Obviously, famously, the last ones for like Jack Nicklaus and Tom Watson for the Open and Augusta. Like those seasons had the best send-offs. Like there's a lot of them, and sometimes with granted little exceptions. Where they finish their final one at like St. Andrews, like the home and golf, and they do the final walk over the bridge, and they give a moment on the bridge, and then same with Augusta on 18. Like those are great send-offs for like some of the best players of all time. These past champs. U.S. Open's like, oh, you've won 3 U.S. Opens, piss off. It's like Now, granted, they've done a couple of extensions. Like Tiger got one this year, which I know he's going to try to qualify next year, which we'll see. But then, like, they did one for Arnold Palmer was at Oakmont for his final one. But in general, they don't really do that. So I'm just like, well, it's like, and then with the PGA Championship, it doesn't seem to be. It sounds weird, just like they never make that their last one. It's always seemed to be Augusta and the Open, always in the big two. You see these final send-offs, which again, kind of to my point, how those two are rated more. I just may debate slightly more with the Open just because of its history and just the uniqueness of golf, but it's kind of regurgitating. It does vary a lot with those conditions. But in terms of the courses, I love the Open Rota and I love the Augusta, and obviously Augusta. The last thing I would say, before I end this, I think with the Open is like I really wish they had Merrifield back and then Turnberry. The downside of Turnberry, the former President Trump owns it, and he calls it Trump Turnberry, which is branding. But to me, it's just Turnberry. It's like I'm not gonna call the Fiesta. I'm not gonna call the Tostitos Fiesta Bowl or the SBC Cotton Bowl, whatever the sponsor. I just call it the Cotton Bowl. I call it the Rose Bowl. So to me, certain names those stick. You don't add whoever owns it or the sponsor ahead of it in that case. And then outside Turnberry, just knowing Trump, he would try to make a spectacle for himself like they did with Liv at his Bedminster, his course in New Jersey. But hopefully one day the politics of that's gone, they go back there because that's a great course. Or even like Muirfield, which is out right now. I think there's an issue. I think there's no like female members or something. There's a controversy um, with that. Not really here to kind of um, kind of go into that, to be honest. But hopefully, again, that eventually gets resolved and that gets back on there because I think it'd be a great to go there as well. And it's kind of neat. Murphyl's right next to the Renaissance Club where the Scottish Open is every year lately. So, but that said, all the other courses are great. I thought Royal Troon is beautiful. I liked the course. That was really fun to play. To show you the little wonkiness, just all the crazy rolls and bounces. And there's a bunker right there. All the little pop bunkers out there in the fairways. The how balls were off, the wind carrying in, trying to judge that. And that's why I think the links golf. And to me, I think the Open makes it the most interesting, exciting major overall from start to finish. But the Augusta's right there. Or some years I'll probably put slightly, definitely a little ahead. But those are definitely the best two, and for all the reasons I mentioned, why I have a lot of issues with the U.S. Open, especially the SGA at times, and the PGA at times. So anyway, I just felt like sharing that. Hope you guys enjoy my rambling and all that. So I hope you all take care, and thanks for watching.